Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Could I have your attention, please? Thank you. My name is Lynn Janelle, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bellevue Schools Foundation. On behalf of the board and staff, I want to thank you for coming out this afternoon for our Education Connections event. And many of you may have received emails from Jamie. She's standing here. She made all of this possible for us today. And real quick, without spilling your food, can you raise your hand if you've heard about the Bellevue Schools Foundation and know what we do? Okay, that's a really good representation, and thank you so much. For those of you who don't know, the Bellevue Schools Foundation is an independent nonprofit organization, and our sole mission is to raise money to make education better for every school, every child in Bellevue School District. We make investments in just about all areas of education. If you have an elementary child who's doing the STEM project, that's something that we've been doing. We have K through 12 readiness. We just have myriad, in fact, over $1 million worth of program investments. And I am new to the Bellevue Schools Foundation, and one of the things that excited me most was being able to participate in these education connections. This is really our way of showing you the resource that we are to the community, and we want to be a resource to all of our parents. Today you're going to hear from our wonderful counselors about Naviance. If you hadn't had the opportunity to use it yet, trust me, when you get done with the presentation, you're going to run home and take it for a test drive. But to tell you a little bit more about that is Kathy Habib, one of our trustees.
Thank you. Welcome. So I've been a trustee for Bellevue Schools Foundation for 7 years, and about 5 years ago, we started to hear from parents in our community and then from our counselors that there really needed to be a little bit more support, training, tools for kids to develop their ideas of what they wanted to do for college and career. Planning for kids and families, but also some supportive tools for the counselors who wanted to be able to do the best job that they could do. So together we work with the Bellevue School District and came up with this College and Career Initiative. And this will be our 4th year that we're funding it. And we're funding it at $125,000. And that funding comes directly from our community, comes from all of you, comes from businesses and foundations. So we really do, as Lynn mentioned, count on you for your support of our programs so that we can put those into the schools. So you have a little orange piece of paper on your sheet, on your chair, and that talks about our fall campaign, and we hope that all of you could contribute in some way in order for us to continue these programs. So today we have with us, we have Deb Kraft, who's the supervisor of our counseling teams in our schools. We have Artie Cristianto, who is a counselor at Sammamish High School. We have Jamie Ginter, who is a counselor at Big Picture. I'm just going to go in order. We have Heather Erickson, who is in Newport High School, counselor. We have Susan LaRosa, who is a counselor at International, and I'll just say also was a big help and contributor in defining what this program would look like here in Bellevue. We have Kelly Troisi, who is a counselor at Bellevue High School. Welcome. And we have Alicia Williams, who's a counselor at Interlake High School. And they are going to present to you a little bit about Naviance, which is part of the College and Career Initiative funding, which supports all of our students for planning for college and career.
Hi everyone, my name is Artie Cristianto and I'm a school counselor at Sammamish High School. I just wanted to thank you, all of you, for being here and for supporting all of our students in the Bellevue School District. The Bellevue School District, our mission is to prepare all students, no matter where they come from, what race, what ethnicity, any sorts of things, or their income level, to support them with a college prep education so that they can succeed later on in academics, college and career, and basically in life. So we really want to focus on the whole child rather than the academics. And we're here today to talk about Naviance and college and career readiness. And Naviance is a web-based program that kind of helps us to fulfill our mission in academic, college, and positive and productive life. One of our guiding principles that's really important to us is equity and access for all. And so we will provide all students access to and support for what they need to achieve excellence. We will look at all district initiatives through the lens of equity. And when you think about equity, it's talking about providing access and opportunity for all students. And Naviance gives us that opportunity because with Naviance, when students use it, they have access to a wealth of information that you'll learn about today in terms of self-discovery, but also in terms of what colleges they can look at, the careers that they can learn more about. And there's a quote on this slide that says, "Do we have the will to educate all the children?" And I'd like to say, for the Bellevue School District and all of our supporters, we definitely do have the will. And thank you to a huge support from the Bellevue Schools Foundation. We also have that opportunity to make this big investment for all of our students. So with Naviance, there is 4 big areas. There's the self-discovery, career exploration, academic planning, and college and career preparation. Again, it's web-based, so you can access it anywhere from home or from at school. And they have all of your students have a personal email address, or they've also used the school email address to access Naviance. And then all the students by now should know their Naviance username and password. So again, it's a web-based program, and these are just some of the things that Naviance allows you to do, from creating a 4-year plan to researching colleges to knowing about acceptance rates and where your students fall into that category, whether or not they have a good chance of getting in or they can work a little bit better. You can also work on your resume there and research scholarships. So this tool is really, really great. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Heather Smith.
Hi, I'm Heather Erickson. There is a Heather Smith, and I got to work with her last year. She's that big picture, in case you have heard that name. That's okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 4-year overview, and then specifically about the academic planning component. One of the benefits of Naviance is that students can use this working document over a long period of time. So they can start in middle school. The middle school counselors help them log on. And they also teach them about the graduation requirements. So they can start thinking about what types of classes they want to take in high school and what do they need to do to prepare themselves for that. It is wonderful to have a draft plan that can be addressed every year by counselors, that can be an opportunity for families to have conversation at home about the classes that the student wants to take, about their areas of passion, and that may guide some family activities. It may guide some ways that vacations are spent, or different things in life that can integrate into helping this person, as Artie said, the whole child, really work towards achieving the goals that they have in life. We are also grateful that a working document allows students to make adjustments with things that come up. It's always great. We can have a plan A, and life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we end up with plan B, and sometimes we decide that plan B is actually better. As you know, the state changes the graduation requirements, and our reality is that things don't always get to stay exactly the same. So with this document that can be adjusted by the time the student is on in high school towards sophomore, junior, senior year, they have been able to put a lot of thought into it and have it be adjusted based on their goals. So the overview that you see on the screen gives you an idea of what we cover in each grade level. It's a little bit different in each of the high school buildings because our buildings are not all exactly the same, and timing, and so we cover different things on different years, but for the most part, we all stick with this basic plan. We talk about resume building in ninth grade. Definitely we talk about the academic planning, but also have them start building a resume. We talk about how to add that, and that is something that you can see on their in their account. There's a personality inventory, career interest inventory. There's a variety of other things we do to help them explore their areas of passion and opportunity that we do in 9th and 10th grade. And then in 11th grade really starts the college search process. So we help them to add schools into their list of colleges that they're thinking about. Then they get emails when the reps from those schools are coming to visit the campuses so that they can meet with them and talk to them and ask them questions. Just become more familiar with the different types of colleges and universities and the things that they want and are looking for. And then in senior year, it is part of the application process, and we're going to cover all of these things in a little bit more depth. So I'm going to try and do this with one hand. So this is the home screen on Naviance, and we are going to use for you today a practice student named Joe Interlake. So Joe is one. We each have a different practice student, and we are able then to show our students in the classroom work with them through the process and show them what it would look like without using any particular student. So I'm going to show you in courses. So you see the tabs across the top. You can explore those different areas, and we're going to do that. And under the courses tab here, we're going to go to Manage My Course Plans. And then you will see these different plans that have been started with the student. And they may have several different draft plans, and that's just fine. They can go in and adjust them and change them. If they want to edit, there's an edit button right here. Once they have gotten the plan to the point where they feel pretty confident about it, and they have added some colleges into their list, they can hit the scan button, which is also up here under Scan Your Plan. And you can see how it aligns with the different universities' requirements. So some schools here may have a higher level, a certain class that's required, or number of years of fine art or world language. You can see that it meets a lot of these requirements, and then if it exceeds any requirements, you'll see that as well. The other thing that's nice to be able to do is to see it in a different view. So if you click on the multi-year view, you can see it by grade level. So 9th grade, 10th grade, the credits planned and the credits earned. And of course, because this isn't a real student, we don't have actual transcript, so it looks like nothing's happened. But for students, that would be, you'd be able to monitor the progress there. So that's a brief overview on academic planning. And now Jamie's going to come up and talk about the About Me tab.
Thanks, Heather. I'm Jamie Ginter, school counselor at Big Picture, and I just want to say thanks so much for coming. I drive every day from West Seattle to work at Big Picture, and people ask me all the time, why do you do that commute? What's going on? And I love working at Big Picture, but I also love being a part of this district, and a lot of that is the funding that we get from Bellevue Schools Foundation. So thank you so much. It really makes a big difference in the kids' lives, and I see that, and I'd like to be a part of that. So for Naviance to talk about the About Me tab, raise your hand if you've thought of yourself as an extrovert or introvert, words you're familiar with. Yeah, most of us. And so part of the About Me assessment of Do What You Are helps students figure themselves out, helps them self-identify after taking the assessment if they're an introvert or an extrovert. It gives them other details too on their thinking and preferences. So when students do this assessment, they have the results, and then of course the kids can say, I don't think that's right, or yeah, that feels pretty cool, that feels pretty accurate. From there, they can have a full report of details. So what does it really mean to be an introvert? What are my strengths as an introvert? I know introverts take time to make decisions. They think carefully before they speak. I am not an introvert. My strengths are to make decisions quickly and to be comfortable speaking. But I have to watch that. Sometimes I make decisions too quickly. So when we start having students learn about themselves, they learn about the strengths of their personality type and they learn about the challenges, and this identifies it for them. So part of their path through high school is figuring out who they are, what their strengths are as a person, and as a student. And then how does that relate to your future career? So let me flip back to Do What You Are. So, and we're in Naviance Live right now, just to clarify. Here are a list of related careers for Joe Interlake. Math, science, clergy. And then they're in, I think these are clusters, human service, hospitality, law, public safety. And if we clicked on one, service, here are the colleges that connect to that career interest. So I think it's really user-friendly. But it's not just a college search or a career search, it's connecting to who your student is as a person. And as counselors, we love that because it's not just about what you think you might be interested in, but about who you are and what you're bringing to that field. I think that's what I have for About Me. Oh, thank you. Portfolio. So as you've seen up in the tabs, there's different places where the students will enter information based on the assessments, their interests, their careers, colleges they think they're interested in. The portfolio is where all the data on that student's held. For Joe Interlake, we have his class. We have a Strengths Explorer as another one of the tools that asks the students a sequence of questions, and then based on that answers or identifies 3 areas of their strength where they can focus. Again, the personality type that we went over. Questions, what are your plans at the moment for after high school? And then college interests. So this student answered all of these questions, and it's all in one spot, and now we have their plan. I hope you can follow along. And then here are the careers that the student and the assessments have come up with them, or with for them, the career clusters. So the benefit to me of the portfolio is that it's all in one place. You can go in there as the parent and look through and see how much has my student done, what areas are kind of open, do they still need to do, and then encourage your student to fill out the assessments or go to those certain tabs to fill it in. More definitions about the career clusters, and then here's the academic plan that you saw a few minutes ago. As a counselor, it's just our dream come true to have a tool for students to have a sense of themselves, connect it to school, and then connect it to what's coming next. Alicia.
Thanks, Jamie. So let me go back to our PowerPoint. So my name is Alicia Williams, and I'm a school counselor at Interlake High School. And some of you I know from way back. I've been in the district since 1999, which makes me old. And I love the Bellevue School District so much that I've been here for my whole career for the most part, and I have a high school student myself. So I really appreciate thinking about all this good stuff. And thanks to Bellevue Schools Foundation for Naviance. It's really changed the way that we work with students in this process. So it's really exciting. I'm a supporter of Bellevue Schools Foundation along with my husband. I encourage you to give money today, because I will. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the careers section. This quote up here, I really liked, that's why I put it up there. It's basically just talking about how these assessments are invaluable. And Jamie talked about that. The whole kind of big thing of being an adolescent is figuring out your identity. It's kind of that self-identity piece. And if you remember when you were a teenager, how confusing it was, and you probably remember adults coming up to you at dinner or on the weekend and saying, "What do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do someday?" And these are questions that really freak kids out, right? And as parents, it's probably good to not ask those questions all the time, because it does cause a lot of stress and anxiety. However, these assessments really help kids to kind of think through what their strengths and weaknesses are, and it also helps them to open up the world to different types of jobs that are out there, because most kids really only know about the careers and jobs of the people around them, right? That's how they kind of learn. So having a tool like this really helps to open the world to them. Oops. I'm going to go back live. And we're going to go back up to the careers tab, as we mentioned. And there's just two I'm going to highlight super quick that Joe Interlake has already done. One is the cluster finder. And this takes, not very long, maybe 20 minutes for students to do. Typically, we do have them do these assessments in class. We didn't really say that earlier, but it's important to know that we don't expect kids to do these assessments at home. Some of them may. But they will be doing these assessments in the classroom with us. Their high school counselors will be talking them through it. We'll be talking about why we do it, what are the clusters. So there'll be guidance that goes along with these. Some students will do it at home, but we will be talking about it. So Joe Interlake, these were his clusters, kind of his matches. So the higher percentage meant that it was a higher match for him. So that really helps students to kind of think things through and see kind of where their strengths were. You can see kids can keep clusters. They can add them to their list so they can go back and look specifically. So you can see that Joe had a cluster here in the science and technology section. So it takes you to some details about what that might look like. Kids look at related majors. So if they're like, what does that mean? Oh, here's some majors as I'm looking at different colleges. They can look at specific careers. They can look at the credentials, meaning, okay, what do I have to do in college to get to that? So there's a lot of different things that students can do in the career clusters. Here's some of the answers from their survey. So for parents, when you're in here, you can kind of see what kinds of activities your student reports that they like, which I think is helpful as well. So if we go back here to the other interest survey, it's called the Career Interest Profiler, which gets at a couple different bents. It gives students some definitions of where they might match. You can see Joe's in green, his high areas, his strong interests. You can look at the matching occupation list that came up for Joe. So he has a whole bunch of lists here. The way I really like it, how it breaks down what the credentials are. Do you need a lot of preparation for a certain job? A little bit, a lot. If you go down and say we pick, let's pick an architecture teacher. It gives them kind of a good description, what the college majors might be. And this is one that kids really like. If you click on a wages, it talks about the different hourly or annual wages. So kids really enjoy that. So, yeah. So there's a lot under the career tab. And then my favorite thing is down here under this called the Road Trip Nation Archive. And as a parent, I think this is really interesting information. We do show this in the classroom. I'm not going to play it right now, but there's like 3,552 videos in here about specific careers and jobs. So as your students searching and things are coming up and they're like, I have no idea what that is, we can encourage them to watch one of these road trip archives where they go out and they interview people across the nation, that's why it's road trip, and learn about different careers and hear firsthand how they became that, what they did in school, how much money they make, and how much they love their job. So it's pretty fun. So there's a lot going on. And we're going to go back to our next speakers. I think Kelly's next. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Troisi, and I'm a counselor at Bellevue High School. This is my second year being part of the school district, and I'm actually really excited. This is my 14th year as a school counselor, and this will be my 10th year using Naviance. So I'm really thankful that Bellevue District and the foundation has funded this, because this is an excellent tool when we're working for students in the college and career pathways and the academic planning as well. So I'm going to touch upon the college research planning and applying. This is a big section, so it's going to be split up with my presentation, and then Susan LaRosa will continue it. So as we talked about before, this is the home page. This is an example. This is an example of Interlake's homepage. Each of our high schools has a different type of homepage, but the main tabs will be the same. It might just have a little bit of a different welcoming message with the counselors on it as well. I just want to touch upon a few things before I go into my presentation. One thing I do want to point out is we do use Naviance as a communication tool. We do email our students and give them information about upcoming events or information that before going into the classrooms, what we want them to already be prepared for. So we make sure we have students who update their email, because that is a form of communication. One important piece, too, is the document library. This is an excellent tool. We post all of our PowerPoints, all of our forms, all of our resources, all of our links in document library. So we encourage students to please check that out, because that's where we keep a lot of the information. Another piece as well, we do post our college visits. We have hundreds and hundreds of colleges that do come on campuses to visit. Typically, those are in the morning before school or after school or during lunch times, because we do not want students to be missing classes. So we do post that information, and so we encourage students to please check out the homepage for the upcoming college visits. The college and career centers in each building, too, also post that information. It can be found in the weekly newsletter as well. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is the college piece and the college search process. Most of us start the college search process in our junior year, but it's never too early to start. With 9th and 10th graders, we encourage you to start early. It's never too early to start, especially if you have a college that you're really, really, really interested in, and you want to see how you match up and what you need to do to plan for that school. We do have 2 college search engines in Naviance. One is the Supermatch College Search. This is a national search engine, and it asks a lot of different questions, and students, based on their interests, will answer those. What I'm going to use today is the college search, because there's some features in there that I want to show you that can really benefit your student. And so I'm actually going to walk through a college search as an example, so you can actually see what it's like, and maybe some of the questions that your student will be contemplating. So the first thing is when students are making a decision, they need to decide, do I want to go to a 2-year school? Do I want to go to a 4-year school? In my example, I'm going to choose a 4-year school. I don't care if it's a public or a private school, but that may matter to one of your students, so I'll leave no preference. I'll also leave no preference for whether it's a co-ed or a single-sex school. I think it's important when we talk about the campus surroundings, it's important that your student really thinks about how big of a place do I want to be? Do I want to be near a big city? Do I want to be small town? Do I want to be in a small city? So I think it's important that your student really ask themselves that, what are they most comfortable with? There are a lot of colleges out there in the country, too, that are in a small town or rural area where they might have to drive an hour or 2 hours to get to the mall or the movie theater. So those are things that they have to ask themselves. So in my example, I'm going to do a small city in a large town. That's what I'm going to do for my example. As far as college groups, I don't care, so I'm just going to keep that open. And religious affiliation as well, I'm going to keep that open. Sometimes when you are doing a college search, sometimes if you put too many limitations on the search, you're not going to get a lot of information back. So sometimes it's good to keep it broad and just touch upon the broad points, and then you can narrow down the results after that. As far as location, this is a really important question for students. How far away do you want to be from home? Do you want to be able to come home for dinner every night? Do you want to be able to come home on the weekends and maybe mom can do your laundry? Sometimes maybe 3 or 4 hour drive away, so that maybe coming once a month home is comfortable for students. Or is it a plane ride? Are you okay just coming home for the major holidays? And so it's really important that they really ask themselves that, because once you're at school, at college, it gets busy, and do you get homesick? Do you need to have that contact with your family and that connection? So it's important to ask. In my example, I'm going to stay on the West Coast. I find that many of the students I work with here like to stay on the West Coast, so I'm going to use that in my example. As far as enrollment, I think this is important as far as size as well, along with location. What I like to, when I work with my students, I tell my students, okay, if you're thinking about a large institution, let's use the University of Washington as an example in our area. If you're using a medium-sized school, let's use Western Washington as an example. And then if you're looking at a smaller school, let's use Seattle University. And for some students, maybe they're not interested in attending those institutions, but I encourage them to get on those campuses so they can walk around, get a feel for it, attend some classes to kind of get a sense do I feel comfortable in this size of a school? Because I think it's important to ask yourself, are you comfortable being in a lecture hall with 100+ students and being a number to a professor, or do you need to have that smaller connection and that interaction with professors where there's maybe 20 students in a class and your professors know you by your first name? So in my example, I'm going to use a medium-sized school and a little bit smaller. As far as the rest, I'm going to keep it open, so I'm not limiting myself. And I'm going to keep it, as far as the acceptance rate, I don't have a preference. And as far as sports, I'll keep it open. There's a lot of activities students can choose when they are doing their searches. So if that's something that they're interested in, whether they want to be in a fraternity or sorority, or if there's a specific sport, lacrosse, soccer, softball, students can definitely use those selections as well. And then also breaking it up by NCAA, NAIA, and so forth, and also divisions. Some students really want to go to a large school that has the big football, where they like to go to the big games on the weekend and celebrate that as well. So to filter that out in their selections. One of the most important features and decisions that students need to make, and that's the whole purpose of why they're going on to college to continue their education, is about that career piece and that major that they're going to study in. You don't want to go to a school if it doesn't have your major. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it a little bit broad. I'm going to be a business major, and I'm going to specifically keep business administration and management general. And then you just add the selected down below. And then I'm also interested in marketing as well. That appeals to me. And I think that's good for now. It's broad enough, but specific major where I'm pleased with. And then I think cost, if you really wanted to narrow it down as far as cost, as you know, college is expensive. It is an investment, and you want to make sure you're getting a return on your investment. And so I think it's important that you do have a dialogue with your student about the reality of the cost of the schools that they're looking at and what they can afford. It's sad when you're working with seniors and they have their list of schools and they start getting their acceptances. and they didn't understand the dollar sign, and they never had that conversation with their parents. So it's important that you're on the same page with your son or daughter and you have that dialogue. The sooner you do, the better off you'll be. And then you can really get specific about certain programs such as ROTC, and then I know a lot of students are interested in the choir or the band programs, and so you can definitely narrow it down as well. And then you hit the magic button, and this is the search criteria I used. And then these are the colleges list that kind of matched them up for me. And like I said, they're based on a large town, small city, kind of a medium to a smaller size school. So just varies on the West Coast. Now, one unique thing I like about this is up here, if you go to select for information, we can get information about our average ACT score. So this is based on Bellevue School District, and students who applied to these schools and that were accepted, they will give you the average ACT total. I can also do percent accepted. So the students at Bellevue School District who apply to these schools, this is the percentage of students who were accepted. So I think this is a really good tool for students when they are using the college search, because they can actually compare to actual students in our district, where they got accepted, what the average and the acceptance rate. So this is an example of a college search, and so we usually do that junior year, but as I said earlier, it's never too early to start. And I'm going to bring it back to Susan LaRosa, who's going to continue this conversation about the whole college application process.
Hi, I'm Susan LaRosa, and I work at the International School. I'm kind of the grandma of this whole group. I've been with the district for 29 years. This is my last year. I'm retiring this year. So I'm going to turn over to Alicia. You get to be grandma next year. Anyways, I think about kind of the last 29 years and what we've accomplished and what we've done. Securing Naviance probably is the most important one as I look at it. This has been, I was pretty relentless in getting this, but it also has been such a lifesaver for counselors, such a phenomenal software for kids. The other piece of this is you. And parents, you have full access to Naviance. And it's your responsibility that you start using it and getting into it. It's available to you 24/7. Your username and password is exactly the same as your child. So you're going to have a conversation with your children so you can get their email. Promise them you're not going to look at their email, okay? And their password, and then you have access to this. The other piece is all of the schools have Naviance nights, their senior nights, their junior nights, and they go over Naviance. We do it in the senior guidance, junior guidance. And we also do it at the college conference in February. It is really, really important that you take that responsibility to go to those, because that's what's going to teach you how to use this. Today we're giving you an overview of how to use the program. You probably won't remember much, except that you use your kid's password and username. But go to those nights, because you can get some hands-on there. Okay? So I am going to talk about, and try to do this and talk at the same time. I just realized. I want to talk a little bit about the homepage. First of all, the one thing you need to do as parents is, I need you to go into About Me, and I got to find it. Oh, look what I did. If you go into About, I'm not live. Okay, would you make me live? You need to go into About Me, and if you go down to the student's profile, you need to make sure your information is in there, your name and your email address. because this is also a communication piece for parents. So if your email address is in there, and you can see here that Joe Interlake doesn't, but if we added a new parent and you put your information in there, when we are sending emails about what's going on, what documents they need to be doing, what schools are coming to visit, you are going to get the email. I know, and I'm pretty sure most of the schools, when we have parent nights, we communicate it through, one of the avenues is Naviance. So I'd ask all of you, please get on your child's Naviance and make sure that your information is in there. Okay, in the homepage, the other ways you can use this is these schools, visiting schools, are always on the homepage. Child just has to click on there, and they can sign up for the visit. The other piece, and I'll show this to you in a minute, if they have this school on their colleges I'm applying to, they will get an email saying this school's visiting. Sign up. Okay. Over on the left here, you have colleges I'm thinking about, which we'll look at in a minute, colleges I'm applying to. Down here, you have all kinds of connections. You have SAT, ACT, that takes you directly to the SAT site and the ACT site. There also is, and it's not on this because this is, I think because we put this together last year, but there is also an icon now that says Prep Me. And there is SAT Prep and ACT Prep through Naviance on here. The other piece that you need to know is that the new SAT, Khan Academy, has a partnership with College Board, and once the juniors get back their SAT, their PSATs, they will be able, for free, to work with Khan Academy, and Khan Academy will put in a study program for them for studying for the SAT. It's awesome. So something to look at, but there is also prep on here for your students for ACT and SAT. Okay, so now I'm going to do some college stuff. So here's your homepage for colleges and colleges I'm thinking about. So here's Joe Interlake. Here's what he had put here that he was thinking about. But what I really want to work with today is colleges I'm applying to. So the first thing you're going to see up here, it says Common App account matching. Naviance has the ability, and it's wonderful, that they just match the Common App with Naviance. We never have to really, as counselors, we never have to go to the Common App because everything is on Naviance as soon as the student matches it. Makes it a whole lot easier, and also for parents it makes it easy because you're going to be able to look in there and see what schools has your student completed, where are they at in the process, okay? And if we go down, so here is Joe Interlake's schools that he is applying to. You will see this column right here that says transcript. Some say requested, some say not requested. This has to be, the student has to request transcripts for us to be able to do anything of sending materials to the school. It's very, very simple. They go up here to request transcripts, and the two he didn't do, we'll check. And we go down, and he's good to go now. So then he'll have those all requested. This column here, office status, it'll say pending there until all his materials have been sent, okay? We usually go as counselors with whatever due date they have put in of when their materials are due. So, and here is this right here. He has 6/1, 1/1, 11/15. This is a really important column because if a student, let's say for University of Chicago, he really wants to do early decision, but he has 1/1 in there because he never went in here and wrote down his real due dates. It's important that they do this. So let's take University of Chicago, and he can go right here, and let's say he wants to do early decision. Oop, they must not have early decision. How about early action? But we're not coming up with a date. Oh, he's not real, so it won't come up, will it? So anyway, he's not really real. But anyway, they would hit early action, and the date would come up. So then when you go back to my college list, the dates will be there. And that's what we use when we're doing our college stuff. You figure that in a little while, I'm going to give you some staggering stats of how many applications that we process through the Bellevue School District. But most counselors have between 65 and 70 seniors that they're working college apps with. So it's really important that they have these due dates, because that's what we're going to go by. Another piece of this that I love is if they just click on the school here, all of a sudden, what they don't need to do is Google all the schools and try to get through all the websites to find admissions and what do they need. Right here is everything that they need to know. Do they need subject tests? Do they need, what are they, SAT? Do they need ACT? Do they need 2 letters? Do they need 1 letter? Everything is right here. And then it also gives them, here's Joe Interlake, Gonzaga, his GPA. Okay, the Joe Interlake 3.6 GPA and Gonzaga 3.6. So they can compare themselves of how do I fit. Okay, but the big thing I use this for is a kid comes to me and goes, do I need subject tests? And I'm like, look the school up. Get in there, look it up, find out exactly what your school's requiring. Let me go back. And the other thing, and this is when you can't sleep at night because you really don't know what your kid's doing about college, is this is a really fun thing to do, is you can go into scattergrams and go, really? He wants to go to Stanford? Okay, so let's take a look at that. If you go over right here where it says graph, you're going to get a scattergram. I love the scattergrams because this is district-wide right now. Okay, so they can, especially at my school, I can't just do my school because they would know who it is. But here are all the kids that have been accepted, not accepted, and here's Joe Interlake, that circle. Whoops, that circle right here. That's him. So you can look at here, I'm thinking, probably shouldn't say this, probably a football player, but anyway, here's all the people that have been accepted to Stanford from the Bellevue School District, and here's Joe Interlake. So it's kind of a wake-up call for him of, ooh, that's going to be tough. I'm going to have to do some really good essays. So when you can't sleep at night, this is fun. Take your kids' college list and then go into the scattergrams, and then you can get a good feeling of, are they going to, do they have a chance? What do I got to work with them on? But I think with all of this, the big piece is you've got to use it and you've got to be vigilant about it. If you have a senior, and I've told this to my seniors, they and you need to be on Naviance once a week. Forget looking at grades right now. Get on Naviance, take a look at that, then you can go back and look at grades. But you need to be on here once a week because this is how we communicate. Everything is going to go through here. Let me see. I have 1 minute. Okay, we're going to go on. So one thing I did want to do is, I had a college workshop this weekend, and I said to the kids, okay, write me down some things about Naviance that you like, you don't like, and some of these are really good. So this is kid perspective. Naviance, and this is like my favorite one, Naviance is a haven for radical organization that keeps me confident in reaching my deadlines and goals. Naviance gives me confidence for my future because of its organization, simplicity, and effectiveness. Naviance has been an extreme beneficial tool in my college application process. It has helped me stay organized and relieved a lot of the stress college apps cause. I personally enjoy Naviance. It is really easy for me to research colleges instead of spending too much time Googling colleges. I love being able to accessibly research and plan the coming years of my life. It has significantly reduced my stress levels by facilitating anything college-related that I'd like it to do. I love Naviance because of all the information you need to succeed and stay organized is right in front of you. Naviance allows me to be more organized about the community services I did and exactly the date. It really helps to have Naviance because it reduces my stress because I feel more control of my high school portfolio. I like Naviance a lot because it is easy to use and it allows me to have easy access to my college information. Also, I get to have everything in one place. Naviance is a great tool because it puts everything in one place, and the resume tool is really helpful, especially when we need to enter info on the Common App. Also tells us college stats, info, and upcoming visits. So some really good perspective as they were sitting there doing college apps this weekend, and they wrote good stuff. Okay, some stats really quickly. This is from last year, 2015. 94% of our students in the Bellevue School District, seniors, applied to college. There's two really important things here. One is 94% of them did apply. The other thing is that because of Naviance, we're able to track this. We've never been able to track that before. So I think that's just awesome. As we reach for 100% of our kids applying, we need to know those stats. There were 8,341 applications were submitted in the Bellevue School District from seniors. And that doesn't count out of country. Like, for instance, Canadian schools, they're not on Naviance, so we can't track that. We can, but we have to do it manually. But 8,341 applications. Okay, private school applications. This is kind of just in order of USC 174, Seattle U 171. Anyway, this is district-wide. And then we have the public schools. University of Washington came out ahead, 615. Washington State second, 368. But just some data for you. And the truth is, we can now, it took me 5 seconds to pull this information up because I could just pull it off of Naviance. So Bellevue Schools Foundation, thank you. It's probably kept me working a couple more years than I thought I was going to work just because it's got so much easier. But we're going to open this up for questions and answers, and thank you all for coming. I mean, I know this is the middle of your day.
Thank you slide? Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, we were going to leave 15 minutes for questions, but, counselors, they like to talk. So if you have to leave, because there's only 5 minutes, please feel free to do so. We will open it up for questions. I would ask that you keep your questions on a more general note and not student-specific. Yes, ma'am. I'm coming with the mic. Okay. What's your question? Is there a way to match up kids with current student, kids who are current students, like, for example, all the kids at University of Washington with the students who are still in high school? And the answer is yes. I think almost all the high schools do that. Do you not do that? Yeah, but there's a way that we can do that. We can always have alumni come and visit. Yes. The portfolio? Oh, yeah. And we have kids who will say, I took this personality inventory in middle school, but I've changed a lot. And we can reset it. Yeah, the counselors can reset it. Yes. At what grade do they get? At what grade they will get a deciding password? Oh, 6th grade. This year, 6th grade. Yes. So, yes.
So I saw that they were taking the Myers-Briggs personality test. Is that all within the Naviance system?
Yes, it's normed for high school kids. There's an adult version, but this is the Myers-Briggs for adolescents. Yes, she wanted to know if it was a Myers-Briggs on the personality inventory, and it is, but it's normed for adolescents. They can reset it and take it. They usually get the same answer, but yes. Yes, the sixth graders will be put on. You can ask your kids. I'm not sure when the counselors are going to go in. Usually they don't go in until February or March with the sixth graders. So it may be a little bit in the middle school. Yes? Do they have to apply through? If they want letters of recommendation and they want us to send a transcript, then yes.
So there were averages of acceptance rates and stuff for the different colleges, but is there a total number? So like your acceptance rate, maybe 94%, like 10 kids applying to that school?
The acceptance rate is based on the number of applications that college received and how many people they accepted. No, if you do the college search, then it's limited to the Bellevue School District.
So is there a way to see what the total?
If you go back to the scattergrams, it'll tell you the total number. Yes. How do you get a login and password? Your student has it. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Is there a place for us to get a copy of this presentation?
We can put it up on the counseling website on the Bellevue School District website. It goes to departments, and then you go to student services and counseling, and it'll be there. Okay? Yes. Right. So if a college wants a transcript, as soon as the transcript request comes through, the registrars will send the transcript electronically. Yes. Then, yes. So UW we don't send because they don't want them, but we do send them in July, first part of July, because if the kids tell us that's where I chose to go to school. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh. Yes.
When do they get internships or career exploration or anything like that?
Well, the career exploration does come through Naviance. The question is, what other opportunities do kids have for internships and exploring careers? In Naviance, there is, under the college's part, there's a summer opportunities and extracurricular opportunities. It kind of depends on what school you're at. If you're at Big Picture, then you start your internship, Jamie, in 9th grade? Jamie, do you start your internship in 9th grade?
Yes, 8 weeks into 9th grade.
Yeah, so the other schools don't have an internship program per se, so that would be up to the student to generate their own internship.
I think the gifted program has internships.
That may be true.
Right? So it's just gifted and big picture and that's it? That's like really important.
Your career center at your high school is an amazing resource. They're amazing, and I mean, all of them are fabulous. And before I came here today, I actually had a student that I was in the career center introducing her to our career specialist, who is helping her not only find a job, but also look into internships and community service. So the career centers are amazing resources. I highly encourage your student to connect with the career specialist.
Yes. That's why we don't. We won't introduce Naviance to the 6th graders probably until the spring, because they need to be settled in and get through the transition. 7th graders will go a little earlier, but I'm not sure when. I think it's December. They have to be in a classroom presentation, and we give them a magic code that's generated by the Naviance program, and then the kids log on, they register in the program, and they put their email, and they make up their own password. Then we can reset it. We can reset it. Yeah. And students can reset it as well. They just click, I forgot my password. Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming, and I'll turn it back over to BSF.
Thanks so much for coming.